We're bringing on Lenny Sanchez, who is, again, the Independent Drivers Guild chapter of Chicago. Thank you, Lenny, for coming on. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to join your wonderful show, man. Really do. Really appreciate it, and really appreciate the show that you guys put together. Great job, guys.
Thank you, Lenny. Thank you. Much appreciated. So I've spoken to Lenny a few hours, actually, over the past couple of weeks. And he's from Chicago. Look, Chicago is full of activity at the moment as far as gig worker rights and rideshare driver rights are concerned. And he's a driver's advocate, number one. I'll start with the tough question first, because a lot of people may or may not understand what IDG is, right? So tell us a little bit about your past. I'm sure you were a driver at some point. And explain to us what IDG's role is currently when it comes to gig worker rights in Illinois, specifically Chicago.
For sure. So again, my name is Lenny Sanchez, and I started out as a full-time Uber driver back in March of 2015. And like many of you guys, I fell into the honeymoon phase, really enjoyed it, invested into a vehicle, and then experienced having gun pulled out on me, unfairly deactivated, and all the nonsense that is so common that us gig workers face on a daily basis. And that's what kind of motivated me to start organizing. There was some grassroots efforts known as Chicago RideShare Advocates and Gig Workers Matter that we started organizing under. And when things got, serious is when we connected with IDG out in New York. And to give you a history on IDG, it goes back to the machinists. So I'll give you the origin story if we were talking about superheroes here. The machinists started organizing limo drivers back in the 90s in New York. And as everybody knows, Uber and Lyft popped up, and they started targeting the limo drivers because they had commercial insurance and chauffeurs licenses, so they could legally operate in the cities that they were in. So those were the original Ubers, and the machinists, having already been involved with the chauffeurs in New York. Once Uber was around and it was apparent that they weren't going to go anywhere, they were going to grow, it was apparent that this sector of drivers were going to need their own support. So the machinists negotiated with the companies to fund a process to oversee grievances. In this case, deactivations. Most unions oversee the grievance process for the workers. This is not funded by the workers. It's not paid for by the drivers that are deactivated, just like a driver or worker from a company that's fired. That's covered by the company themselves. So the machinists negotiated that. Congratulations to them, because they won this grievance process, in turn giving birth to IDG. And we oversee the grievance process in New York. We have activated thousands of drivers. In New York, we've taken an incremental approach and tried to win these things. So we started with deactivations, and now there's benefits and pay increases that have really been beneficial for the community out there. Connecting with them out here in Chicago was really important to us because we saw Prop 22 pass back in November of 2020. And that was really concerning for us, because in Chicago, we were just a couple dozen friends and drivers that were fed up, that were just rubbing their nickels together to get T-shirts printed and talking to drivers. We knew that it was going to take a serious punch, because the companies, as you guys know, dropped $250 million in advertising in California. What are a couple dozen drivers going to do in Chicago when we knew that they were coming to Illinois and to other states next? So connecting with like union and one that had experience in doing this was really important to us here in Chicago. So having that friendship with the crew out there in New York, just had that conversation, and it ended up giving birth to the chapter that we have here in Illinois. And we've been working really hard to try to make things better for all the workers here in Chicagoland and Illinois.
So
that's a bit of the history there. I can rant, so stop me at any time.
No, I get it, but there is obviously talk in our community that IDG is sponsored by Uber and Lyft, right? I mean, that's the hard question that you need to come up with and with an answer for it. And there are parts of IDG, I guess maybe they may be more friendly with Uber and Lyft, right? And I'm like, I'm not concerned obviously about your part of the outfit, but there are parts of IDG that are funded by Uber and Lyft, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, just like any union in this country receives funding from the company that they are representing the workers for. It's exactly the same model. So it's something that is either misunderstood or misconstrued by individuals and are it's used to smear us inaccurately. And
Okay.
I mean, machinists have been around for more than 100 years fighting for better working conditions and winning for workers in this country for some time. If you want to challenge and doubt them, that's, it's come with something legit, but it's just a misunderstanding is the way I'd like to see it.
Okay, so my goal, Lenny, going forward, because I believe that the pendulum has swung way too far towards the company's favor. Okay, I believe proper. See, that's
Agreed.
the key word. Not any proper legislation and regulation at this moment is necessary for the drivers to somehow get back whatever they have lost over the 7-8 years being rideshare drivers, meaning lower earnings, unjust deactivations, all these wonderful things that we go through, right? So there is an ordinance in Chicago at the moment, which we will have the representatives of that first week of October on Show Me the Money Club, but that's not your area at the moment. However, simply asking this question, what has happened in California with Prop 22. As you correctly stated, they spent over $250 million to pass this, right? Is your group friendly with the Prop 22 clones or Prop 22 itself?
No, absolutely not. Over in Massachusetts, IDG was part of a coalition that went and fought against the Prop 22 style ballot measure that was introduced over there. And we got it removed. But as I'm sure you are aware, maybe your viewers aren't, that ballot measure has been reintroduced again into Massachusetts. So no, we're totally against that. And we see the vision that these companies have. They want to bring that to all the states nationally, eventually.
Yeah, well, my concern with Prop 22 and clones of it is this. With the existing upfront fares model, the algorithms now are going to be set to pay whatever the minimum is to drivers. That's what's going to happen. And that's my biggest concern when it comes to Prop 22 clones, because that's what I'm seeing in California. The algorithms are basically shaving enough off of base rates to bring people's hourlies down to $19 to $23, which is Prop 22. And one thing that I have to mention with all this Prop 22, as Lenny knows, and the clones, these propositions or laws are not funded by these companies. It's funded by the consumer. So when it's funded by the consumer, they have no loss, but they are doing this in order to achieve their long-term goals, which is number one, they want every driver to stay independent contractors. There is no employment status whatsoever, which that's all these propositions are going to do. What do you think you're able to do to stop this movement in Massachusetts, if anything, Lenny?
So IDG and it's the machinists and IDG have formed a coalition with our brothers in the union world, SCIU over there. And we are hoping that the legislators will pass the bill that we introduced over there, which would give us the collective bargaining rights. It carves out sectoral bargaining rights. So these are things that would allow us to legally form a union and have a union that can negotiate real contracts and conditions for us with and a negotiating circumstance with these companies. That is what we are fighting for, because that way we can then win the things that we deserve, the pay floor and all the benefits and everything that the drivers are starving for. So to me, it's less about the label. I understand like some fights in other states have really put their flag down that we have to be employees. It's about what these workers need. They need collective bargaining rights. They need a pay floor. They need protections. They need better safety. They need a seat at the table. They need a union. It's not about the label of employee or independent contractor. It's about those things. And in Massachusetts, we are hoping that the legislators are going to settle this discussion and this problem here and give the drivers the collective bargaining rights and the opportunity to form a union to really be able to go fight against these companies.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge problem that these companies are going to push Prop 22 clones all over the country. And now I know there is some movement in Chicago that's going on as far as a proposition that exists, an ordinance that exists in the city council or whatever you guys call it out there. And we're going to have the sponsoring alderman actually on our show in the first week of October for him to talk about it. And it has, look, I looked over it. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and it has pretty much everything what drivers want: higher, time and distance rates, unjust deactivation protection, some benefits that come with it, obviously, a minimum fare guarantee. As far as trip is concerned, I think it's $7 a trip. So is there, what is IDG doing? What is your outfit doing in Illinois or Chicago specifically at the moment to either back this proposal up or bring your own proposal to the table?
So since day one of the new mayor being sworn in and city council being sworn in, we have been in direct contact with them to discuss all these issues. We've been bringing drivers to them to hear the drivers' issues. We have been discussing the proposal. And I want to take my hat off to Lori and the People's Lobby. They did a great job of getting support within city council to get the city council behind supporting an effort to improve the working conditions of the workers in Chicago. Unfortunately, the proposal that was put together has not advanced forward. So at this current moment, the way that it is written is not the one that we are going to have here in the near future. We're hoping that even later this week, by Thursday, to see if city council will have the final version or most recent version prepared and introduce it to city council. We're yet to see that. But once that is put forward, I will, and anyone else would be able to give a more obviously form and model response to that. We got some more form to that because I don't know. I can only assume what some of it might be. But what I do know is that there's great intentions to increase the pay and stop unfair deactivations, fight unfair deactivations, and to give benefits and so many other things that the workers in Chicago desperately need. So any effort that does that, we are 100% behind. But we want to make sure that the effort is one that is truly one that's passable within city council, and that if it passes, is not going to have any unwanted consequences that may be detrimental to the workers. We want this to be beneficial to them. So until we see a final version of what this thing is going to look like, I reserve my final, opinion on it, but I'm holding out a lot of hope because in our discussions with city council members here, they are extremely motivated. The chair of the workforce committee out here, Alderman Michael Rodriguez, is a great ally to the workforce out here in Chicago. So I'm very much looking forward to what they're going to present here in the next couple of days and see where it goes. I don't believe it's going to go up for vote here in September just because of the temperature check and how things are. The city has some challenges here for anyone local in Chicago. The city is always negotiating the last couple of months, the last couple of sessions is the budget. And the budget overtakes just about everything else. But I believe that the city council is so motivated to try to address this issue that they may try to not only introduce this thing next month or this month, but try and make this happen and make it reality. So I'm crossing my fingers with a lot of hope here from what we've heard from city council that the final proposal here will be a good one and we'll sign off on it as an organization and we'll do anything and everything it takes to get it passed. Whether that's rallies or tens of thousands of signatures, whatever's clever, bro.
Yeah, I mean, we have a huge crowd in Chicago. Obviously, we keep them posted with what's going on, and then there's one thing that actually, we have a few more minutes here. I wanted to make clear to whoever's watching this now and later is that, we do our surveys at the RideShare Guy constantly, and unequivocally, 80% of the driver community would like to stay independent contractors as opposed to be wearing an Uber hat and a Lyft shirt, period. This is what people say. I mean, I'm just a messenger, so don't shoot me because I'm just telling you what the research is telling me, meaning people want to stay independent contractors. So in order for that to, for us to be able to bring Uber and Lyft to the table, we have to give up something to receive something. It's not going to be that it's hell or high water. We want everything. We want to be employees, and we also want to keep our independent contractor status. It just doesn't work. And that's not me saying that. I personally don't think we're independent contractors. Do you think we're independent contractors, Lenny, the way we are at the moment?
No, unfortunately, we're not true independent contractors. No.
Right. So as the community says that 80% of us want to stay independent contractors, that may be the point to give up a little bit on that end, to bring these companies to the table for higher fares, for unjust deactivation protections, for, and a lot of the things that existing model has successfully established, which is Seattle and Washington State. There is a model that's working in Seattle and Washington State. And that was done with under the threat of a Prop 22 coming to those states. And what happened? The part of the group said, okay, we won't give up exactly our unionization rights or collective bargaining rights, but we'll stay independent contractors. Let's just talk about it. So I am hoping, Lenny, that there is a common ground between your group and Lori's group, that you guys will see eye to eye and then work for just the driver benefit. Because from what I see, if any legislation will include that we want to, we want to convert everybody to employee model, these companies are going to fight tooth and nail, and most likely are going to kill pretty much everything that comes down the pipe. And we know what happened. Look what happened in Minneapolis last week. Mayor vetoed it. 2 months ago, Minnesota governor vetoed it, right? And to me, like Lenny said, this has to be a two-way highway. This cannot be just my way is the only way, and let's, and dictate Uber and Lyft. So in the remaining couple of minutes, I'll give you the floor. That's my opinion. Again, I'm just a messenger, but that's what I believe. And whatever legislation comes down the pike, I'm going to support that with everything I have, with mainstream media contacts, with the massive platform that we have, and with a huge audience we have in Chicago and Illinois. So I'll give you the remaining 3 minutes, and then, give us anything you want to do in closing. Floor is yours.
I appreciate it. So yeah, I'll echo what you just said there. I think the best studies that I've seen show about 30% of the workers would prefer to be classified as employees. Most of them are much less than that. IDG, anyone that's ever talked to me here in Chicago knows that we represent what the workers want 100%. But I will say that I do believe that this fight between the label of employee and independent contractor is truly dividing people from getting behind efforts to improve the working conditions for the workers right now. And let's be real here. The states can reclassify us as employees, but it is up to the federal government to recognize us as employees and give us the legal right to unionize. And I don't believe this Supreme Court is going to ever allow that to happen. So the only path truly to getting the conditions to improve for the workers is to get the right to bargain in our hands. We need that in our corner. And if that means like the Teamsters and Seattle, what they did, negotiating to come to this agreement, so long as there's no battle to reclassify one way or another, so be it. That's my personal opinion, but I really would love for the communities and all of you voices out there to get behind efforts and kind of go away from the argument between these labels, because I understand why the companies don't want the employee label. It affects their valuation of their stock. And I understand why the workers in general don't want that as well too, because it likely means the companies will restrict the flexibility and so many things that have made working for Uber and Lyft, et cetera, so attractive. So that parallel and whatnot doesn't make us a yellow union. It just makes us fighting for what the workers want and what's best for them. And I hope that in Illinois that we'll be able to unify under fighting for what is best for the workers and getting that right to bargain. I believe that at the root of it all, that's what we'll come down to, because when you see things clearly, the path to trying to take the employee thing and really sticking your flag down, it has to be employee or nothing, is the wrong path to take, because there's no winning path with that. Not with the current structure that this government has on the state or federal level, with who's in power. It's just not going to happen. So let's take a realistic approach here. Let's get collective bargaining rights into the driver's hands. I recommend every single person that's on here sign up for IDG. It's absolutely free. If you go to drivingguild.org, you go to our website, it is free to sign up. You can select what state you're in. If you sign up, you'll get emails and notifications of everything that we're doing. We're constantly holding different workshops for support, trauma, just like RideShare 101 for deactivated driver workshops. We're always canvassing at O'Hare and at other locations, so you can always meet us. We got an office, and our door is really open. We have brought tons of drivers to meet with senators and Congress and all different types of elected officials here in Chicago. We are really, truly collecting the voices of the workers out here and putting that in front of all of these people.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed it up really well. I think, you know, united we stand, and we have a better chance of doing it. And we have to give stuff to receive stuff, because nobody's going to give you anything for free. And as you've said, if these companies, you know, if we all became employees, look, this is simple. They own the apps. They're going to put schedules on everybody. And when they say you're going to lose your flexibility and freedom, there is a point to what they're saying. They're going to make you work. If you're an employee, you cannot decline trips. You can, you know, you're just going to just accept everything.
It would be a totally different game. Yes, you know, exactly.
And, you know, and look, they have done it in New York City. I mean, when it first started, and then, you know, it's relaxed a little bit now, but look, they own the apps. They can do whatever the heck they want. They may only allow people on the apps to work that have 90% acceptance rates, unlike me, which I'm at 9% acceptance rate. So yeah. I'm thankful that you came up and you know, showed up and explained to our audience where you stand and where IDG stands. Like Lenny said, please go sign up, or at least read what they're all about. Educate yourselves and make your own decision. But you know, when you need our help, please give us a holler, and we're here to support anything and everything that is about the advocacy for the gig workers. So, Lenny, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Peace and love, brothers. Appreciate it very much, guys. Thank you.
Take care. We'll keep in touch, okay?
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.